Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. What a debacle the ending of last night's game was. So disappointing. You know, hey, I always have the benchmarks of, hey, let's score first. Let's get the lid off. Let's get people involved in the offense. Okay, let's get our starters. I talked about this in the last podcast. Get them going at least 6 innings. Hand that thing off for the last 3 innings with the lead to your bullpen. Only have to map out 3 innings. And I said, hey, I think the Dodgers would win 75 to 80% of those games. And lo and behold, every bit of that formula that I put together, the Dodgers reached last night and still lost the game. That, you know, to me, that's one of those deals that just really makes you scratch your head, because you had everything, you know, exactly the way you wanted it to be, and then you just didn't throw in the bullpen again, you know. So, hey, today's episode, we're not going to dive into highlights of the minor league system. You know, Tulsa and Oklahoma City both lost. Great Lakes won a very close game, and then Rancho won. We'll have plenty of those highlights throughout the year. What we're going to actually do, I think it's come to the point now where, hey, you know, Dave Roberts said it last night. There's only a certain amount of time that we have to evaluate who is going to be, you know, part of the future plan of the bullpen with the Dodgers. There's no doubt about it that the bullpen has to get fixed. Okay, I've said a couple times, I think we have in-house, you know, what you need to fix that bullpen. Okay, the way that Dave Roberts made it seem last night. We'll see how that goes. So what we're going to do on today's show, I'm going to go through all of the in-house options that the Dodgers have, you know, at the AAA level that they could bring up, you know, to shore up the bullpen. I think it's probably after last night, I would be leaning more towards, hey, go get a Joe Kelly type guy. You know, maybe you could put him and Giolito together in a trade, you know, something like that. So we'll see how that's going. I'm not very strong on as far as, you know, having time to look out to see who might be available in the trade market as of now. I will do more research on that as the trade deadline comes up. So that's going to be an interesting balance as to, I promise you, Dave Roberts let the cat out of the bag last night. The Dodgers, they will go get what they feel like they need if they don't think what they have already is good enough. They're evaluating that. Dave let you know that last night. They're evaluating that every single night. So, okay, it's just frustrating losing games, getting to that point as far as, hey, what is the game plan with the bullpen? Do you need to go out and trade for a couple of guys? Do you need to promote some other guys from within? You know, you just promoted Taylor Scott, who has been just absolutely lights out at the AAA level. He's shown that flashes, you know, the two-seam that turns right, the slider that turns left, and lo and behold, he goes out last night, walks a guy, hangs a couple of sliders, and then he gives up 3 runs. And, you know, just didn't really look comfortable, didn't look real good, didn't just give off, you know, if you're a manager, you know, or just a Dodgers fans or a front office guy with the Dodgers, just the vibe that he gave off last night didn't give you a whole lot of confidence as far as to say, just a rough night, no worries, no big deal about it. He just didn't give off that, you know, confident vibe like, you know, like you would like to see. So, okay. What are the in-house options? That's what we're going to go over today. So, hey, let's not waste more time. Let's get right to it, and let's talk Dodgers baseball. The first guy I'm going to start with today, one of my favorites, Mark Washington, 6'7", out of Lehigh, originally Episcopal Academy in the Philadelphia area. One thing I really like about him is that he's very long and he gets down the mound very well. So, hey, you know, he's 94 to 96. He can touch 97, but the effective or perceived velocity is a little higher than that to the hitter because the extension is good with Mark Washington, and he's also a really good dude. I've had a chance to a couple of chances to talk to him. Very competitive as well. He does not like failing at all, and he will let you know about it. Okay, so Mark Washington on the year, ERA of 3.67, whip of 1.19. He has 32 strikeouts, 14 walks, and 34.1 innings. He sits 94. He can hit upwards to 97. Has that good changeup that you saw right there. So whenever you can hit 97, you know, you have to gear up for that. When you get that kind of extension, it makes that changeup a really good pitch. We saw it right there, that good changeup. We saw a little bit of fade to it. We saw the tumble to it a minute ago. Okay, so Mark Washington definitely considers himself. That actually ended up being a fly ball. You could see his reaction. He's just very fiery, very competitive. and that really motivates him. There's a good four-seam fastball for him. He relies on what he calls vert because he's so tall. He's able to ride the top of the zone with that fastball and give that rising effect to the hitters very, very well because it comes out of his hand so high and it just kind of carries the top of that zone very well. And then also it gives a big-time tumbling effect to his changeup. So, hey, there's a good little slider you saw from Mark Washington. The thing about him, though, if you talk to him, what he'll tell you is that changeup is a very, very, very feel-heavy pitch. Some days you show up and it feels great coming out of your hands. The next day, the next day you show up and it's it's just a work in progress as far as getting it to land in the strike zone. So when he is throwing his changeup, and I talked to Rob Hill, the director of minor league, he coordinates all the minor league pitching in the Dodgers system. I talked to him actually before the season started. He totally agreed. Hey, when Mark Washington is landing the changeup, it's going to be a tough day for the hitters. So Mark Washington, there is he would be the first option that I would choose as far as if you wanted to dip down into your AAA again to bring up guys to shore up your bullpen. Justin Hagenman, the young man out of Penn State and originally Voorhees, New Jersey. Hey, three-quarter slot right there comes out. I talked about it with him, Ryan Sublette, Gabe Emmett. I talked about that with him, just the other day. That three-quarter slot, yet he's able to stay behind the baseball to throw a changeup and to also get a good riding effect. But you also see right there that three-quarter slot. It makes it a very good sweeping type slider and a very deceptive fastball because it looks like the fastball is actually going to cut more than it does. And look at that little cutter he threw there. It's actually listed as a sinker slider change, but as you watch him pitch from behind home plate, you can see it has good cut to it. So you might as well consider that sinker. Usually a sinker has the arm side run. His has more cut to it, you see on that pitch right there. Okay. Justin Hagenman, he was moved up to AAA Oklahoma City at the beginning of 2022. Quietly, he's been pretty good at the AAA level this year. 3.09 ERA. His whip is 109. He has 39 strikeouts, 9 walks in 35 innings. Okay, Hagenman, not an unbelievably hard thrower. He relies more on movement and to miss barrels and to get weak contact. He sits 92. He can hit 94. Unbelievable that I use the phrase that he doesn't throw unbelievably hard when he's hitting 94. That's just the day and age we're in. That's with a sinker slider change. Okay, so Justin Hagenman, there is your another option as far as, he's been in AAA for a long time, over a year now. He's had success, not a real hard thrower. I think the Dodgers are probably at least wanting to transition back to guys that can strike a lot of guys out. But at 92, he's going to throw more sinkers and pitch more to weak contact. So, hey, we'll see. There's another option as far as if you wanted to dip down into your AAA ranks, Justin Hagenman. Justin Bruihl would be the number one left-handed option. Of course, we've already seen him at the Major League level on many different occasions. He's been on that up and down train. And, hey, when you are a relief pitcher in the Dodgers system and you still have options left, that's just how it goes, man. Just get those frequent flyer miles ready to go. There's Justin Yurchak making a catch. That's Jahmai Jones at second base there. Okay, Justin Bruihl, his ERA is 0.71 on the year. His whip is just 0.79. 14 strikeouts, just 3 walks. So he's going to make the other team beat him. He will, rack up in 12.2 innings, a decent amount of strikeouts as well with his sinker slider changeup combination. He sits 92 and he hits 94 with that sinker. So another kind of a left-handed version of Justin Hagenman. Not going to throw unbelievably hard, kind of in that same velo range of topping at 94, sitting around 92. And he's going to use that sinker to move away from barrels and get weak contact, just like that. That is a perfect example of Justin Bruihl, how you use the movement of the sinker slider change mix to get weak contact. So, hey, Justin Bruihl, he would definitely be the number one left-handed option coming out of the pen. Another left-handed option would be 6'8" Brian Hudson. And this guy, hey, I was really excited to get to sit behind him and watch him live. ERA 2.17 on the year. So, hey, he is putting some things together. I've mentioned a couple times in the past, hey, the Dodgers appear to maybe have unlocked something with him as far as his production because his ERA has been fantastic. at 2.17. His whip is 1.21, so that's not unbelievably good. So he's been able to work around some traffic, but the ERA is good at 2.17. His average against is good too, 194, and he has 51 strikeouts, just 14 walks. That's what, over 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, and that's in 29 innings. So when you have 51 strikeouts in 29 innings, that's kind of what you're looking for as far as having some margin for error when you can strike guys out. But it's not done through velo. He sits 91 to 92. He hits 94 to 95. But again, that long extension and just kind of the gangliness of it, the knees and elbows of it, it's very uncomfortable for the hitter. But so, although he does just hit 94, 95, I say just, that's unbelievable again. He's not the 99, 100, 101 mile an hour guy coming out of the pen. Okay, he is very long, so his perceived velocity, that 94, 95 is going to look like a 97, a 98, maybe even a 99, especially to a left-hander, because it's very difficult to pick up. So the perceived velocity right there on a pitch like that, the what Perry Husband calls the effective velocity of his pitch is better than his actual velo. I do think he's probably the second left-hander in the system that you would consider bringing up behind Justin Bruihl. Maybe if Alex Bessia didn't work out, or if Caleb Ferguson, his last outing was good, but if at some point you come to the conclusion that Caleb Ferguson's not going to work out as far as your future plans, I don't see that happening. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. And you wanted to stay in-house with your left-handed options, I think Justin Bruihl would be number one, and then Daniel Hudson would be next. We've seen Andrejackson plenty, and I tell you what, I told you, about a month ago, hey, this guy is a survivor. He is a fighter. He will get his head back above water, and dadgummit, he did it the other night. He came in and threw 3 scoreless innings in the game. I believe that was Saturday when Bobby Miller was so good and was just really, really good, and then immediately got optioned back down to AAA Oklahoma City. Adam Kolarek got called up. Hey, he's another guy I back up. I said Daniel Hudson would probably be your second choice as a lefty. Adam Kolarek, I was assuming that Adam Kolarek was still on the Major League roster, but he's not. Now that Shelby Miller is back, Adam Kolarek is going to come back down to AAA Oklahoma City. So I think squarely Adam Kolarek would be, maybe number 1, possibly number 2 option, him or Justin Bruihl. Make them 1 and 1A as far as your left-handers in-house. That would probably move Brian Hudson to lefty number 3 as far as your in-house options. Andrejackson, okay, here's the thing about him. I talked to him at the end of 2021, and his velo was down to about 92, and he wanted to get that back up. Now, make no mistake about it. His game revolves around his changeup. When his changeup is landing in the zone, kind of like Mark Washington, that pitch right there, it is an elite pitch, and it's a pitch that sets everything else up. But having said that, Andrejackson is hitting 96.6 with his fastball. So, hey, that's really good velo for him. And as a matter of fact, he's sitting 95. So, sitting 95 for Andrejackson with the type of elite changeup that he has when it is landing in the zone. That's why you see him, hey, when he's going good, he goes really, really good, because you see, hey, man, the changeup that he brings plus a fastball that sits 95, add a slider to that, that's a really, really, really good combination. But then you also see when he doesn't go good, it seems like he gives up a whole lot of runs, and that's because he's not landing his changeup. He's getting behind in the count, and he's having to make sure he's throwing strikes with the 4-seam, and then the other team is ambushing the 4-seam. So it's been kind of a roller coaster for Andrejackson. It's all in his hands, because the thing about it is his stuff is good enough to where when he does what he's supposed to do, he gets out. So, hey, we know Andrejackson is an option for the future, so wanted to make sure and cover him. Wandersuero, of course, he has all of the Major League experience with the Nationals, and we also saw him earlier this year. Had some kind of ups and downs at the Major League level. I think probably what doesn't, let's start with the things that probably don't excite a whole lot of people. Okay, he's sitting just 90 miles an hour and hitting just 91 with his sinker. So not a whole lot of velo. He's going to be, again, another guy that has to pitch to contact. And those guys, hey, man, if you have any kind of nerves, if the umpire, isn't calling, the borderline pitches, strikes that night, and there's a lot of different variables to guys that that don't throw 100 miles an hour, that could allow them to fail on any given night because their margin for error isn't as high. You know, when you can just reach back like Bobby Miller can and throw a 99-mile-an-hour sinker that has, you know, say 25 inches of horizontal break, you have a lot of margin for error. But when you're wandersuero and you only throw 90 miles an hour, basically at the major league level, everything has to go perfect for you to have, you know, success. So if you have a little bit of nerves, and or if you're just not quite on your game that day, and or if, like I said, the umpire not calling the borderline pitches that you need to get outs with, gonna make it a tough day. So those are the reasons why, you know, fans, maybe the front office wouldn't be excited about wandersuero, why they would. Okay, you know, he has major league experience, like I said, and at the AAA level, especially earlier this year, he was completely dominant. Okay, but, you know, since he's come back, he hasn't been as dominant as he was at the beginning of the year. His ERA overall at AAA Oklahoma City, 3.27. His whip is 118. His average against is 207, so there's another reason to be maybe excited about him. And he has 22 Ks and 9 walks, a little bit over a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio in 22 innings. I'll say this, okay, you know, to keep veterans like wandersuero, they are keeping back guys like John Rooney that, you know, are in Double-A still, you know, or maybe even a Jordan Leisure. So if the front office of the organization don't have any plans on making guys like wandersuero or Robbie Erlin or, you know, a William Cuevas, the veterans in the AAA level, if they really don't truly have any plans to use them this year, they need to go ahead and cut bait and take all the younger prospects and let them have those AAA innings and get them closer to the major league level. You know, that's just my opinion on that issue, because I just don't see the value in having a veteran taking up prospect spots when you're not planning on using that veteran in any role. Like you didn't bring up Matt Andriese the other day, and instead you went with the bullpen game. That didn't work out in your favor. So I would, you know, that would be the approach that I would take. I would only have a veteran at the AAA level if I felt like that veteran was just one injury away from helping the major league club. You know, if it wasn't that scenario, you know, and you're still evaluating, okay, go ahead and just use your prospects. That's where I'm at on that. Speaking of veterans that have been around for a while, how about Jakereed, the young man or veteran, whatever you want to call him, that's been around the Dodger system for quite a while right now. Okay, not an option in the immediate future. ERA 12.27 in AAA this year. Okay, his whip is 205 in 7.1 innings. So not only have the numbers not looked good, you know, his pitch count isn't up there, his innings count isn't up to where you could really trust it to send it to a major league level. I say that, but seems like I'm always wrong as far as the moves that the Dodgers make, you know. So, hey, take that definitely with a grain of salt, because I also know on the other end, the Dodgers love their veterans that they've seen with their own eyes at the major league level. Here's another thing about Jakereed. In his 7.1 innings, he has just 1 strikeout, and he's hitting 92-93. So not, you know, tremendous velo. Strikeout numbers aren't good. ERA is high, and the whip number, you know, the whip is high, and, you know, so there's a lot of reasons why you would say, hey, Jakereed really not in contention for the immediate future, but hey, he's a guy we've seen in the past the Dodgers like to bring up and down. So keep giving him innings at the AAA level. Let him get the innings count up. Let him get his arm work back up and see if he can have success. And if he does, you know, hey, maybe by the beginning of August, then you bring him up then. But I think that's probably the earliest timeline for Jakereed. My man Gus Varland, the bus, who was picked up in the Rule 5 draft by the Milwaukee Brewers, and then he was sent back to Oklahoma City about a month ago. It's been a little bit of a bumpy ride for him. His ERA is 6.06 at the AAA level. His whip is 153. His average against is 288, and he has just 12 Ks and 8 walks in 16.1 innings. Okay, so those are all the reasons. That's a good changeup right there for Gus Varland. Very competitive young man, very talented, definitely major league caliber type stuff, just has to put it together. Okay, so those are all the reasons why you wouldn't think that Gus Varland is, you know, imminent to the major leagues. Here are some of the reasons why he would be. Okay, he's already pitched in the major leagues. He showed that he can have success at the major league level. He got hurt with Milwaukee, and then after he got hurt, he just never got called back up. So you have evidence of him at the major league level of having success, and also his four seam is hitting 96 to 98, and he has that low arm slot. Look at that low. Well, not right there because he was trying to get on top of that changeup, but he has a lower arm slot, so that gives him both ride and run to that four seam. It gives him a great riding effect. So there's a lot to like about Gus Varland, just not the statistics and the numbers and the way the bullpen is going for the Dodgers right now. It would be a tough sell, to say, hey, let's take a guy with an ERA of 6.06 and let's send him from AAA to the major leagues right now. You would have to be doing it based solely on potential, and the Dodgers being in second place in the division right now. That would be a tough sell, but hey, Gus Varland, lots and lots and lots of potential, so let him keep throwing, and let's see, if he can have a little bit more success as far as statistics go at the AAA level and keep evaluating him for the big club. My man Gavin Stone, okay, so here's the deal. All right, at UCA, he was the Friday night starter. He actually threw a no-hitter his last game in 2020 before they shut the season down there as a Bear at the University of Central Arkansas. But before that, he was the team's closer, like as a freshman and a sophomore. So he has experience coming out of the pen in high-leverage situations. He has a very chill mentality. Okay, he is a guy that never really lets a whole lot bother him. A lot of times his teammates will they'll joke with him a little bit like, hey, are you even alive because your blood just never seems to boil? Okay, I get it. We saw him at the major league level. He did not have success. It was rough to watch, believe me, for a guy who's, so high on Gavin Stone and just wants to see him do as well as I do. It was tough to watch. And since then, since he's come back to AAA Oklahoma City, it actually hasn't gotten a whole lot better. So no doubt about it, can't sugarcoat it. He's in a rut. Let me say this, though. He is a champion at mind. He is super, super, super talented. This is a bump in the road for Gavin Stone. Like I said about Andrejackson, he will get his head above water again, though. Hey, here, and whenever I talked to him the first time, right after the 2021 season, there was kind of a question, hey, are the Dodgers going to use him as a reliever? Are they going to make him a starter? Well, they chose to go the starting route. But right now, they eliminated his two-seam. He's throwing only his four-seam. I personally think that was a mistake, but who am I to say anything about that? The Dodgers have the best information in the world to make all those decisions. Okay, so he's given up 21 earned runs in his last 14.2 innings at the AAA level. So no doubt he's struggling. His four-seam is sitting 94-95. It has hit 97, and he has a change in his slider. So, a three-pitch mix, kind of like Michael Grove. In my opinion, that suits better for the bullpen when you talk about his personality and being able to just adapt to different situations mentally. And when you have a three-pitch mix, I think if you bring him in the part of the game where he matches up, and gives you the best matchups as far as him versus the hitters for that next inning, he could be kind of like that Andrejackson guy that goes, multiple innings. If you need him only for one inning, he could do that. But if you needed him to extend to 2, maybe 3 innings, if you've used your bullpen a lot as of recently, I think he would be an absolutely great option for that. Don't get me wrong. It's not imminent. He has to get to pitching better. He has to get the statistics back down to a controllable manner. You can't bring him back up right now. You can't do it until he strings together a whole bunch of outings in a row that are very good. I will say this. It's not a matter of if. It is a matter of when with him. So, hey, Gavin Stone just wanted to make sure, throw that out there more as a seed of, hey, this could be a potential future situation for Gavin Stone as soon as he gets back to pitching on top of his game. So here are some other guys that just came up from AA Tulsa. Landon Knack, you're seeing him right here. This is actually Wichita. Look at the movement to the arm side on that. I know it's listed as a four-seam, but it has that two-seam type arm side movement to it. Landon Knack is very major league ready in a lot of different ways. First of all, he's having a very good year. His ERA is right around 2 at the AA level. He is a definite four-pitch strike thrower. You see the four-seam that has the arm side movement. He also very competitive, too. He is a competitive dude. I love his competitive element, kind of like Bobby Miller. He will let you know when he's doing good and when he's not, and he likes to correct it right away. the four seam, the changeup, the slider, and the curveball. He might be the best pitcher in the organization at being able to land 4 different pitches in the strike zone. So from that perspective, he is a very major league ready type guy. Now, you would have to transition him from being a starter to being a reliever. I understand all that. Or, hey, you could put him in that 5th spot and move Michael Grove to a reliever. So there's different options you could do for that. Or the bullpen game that you used. We saw on Sunday, the Dodgers are going to have another bullpen game coming up here recently. You could take him and you could make him a 3, maybe 4 inning bulk type inning guy in that bullpen game. So those are, you see the emotions right there. Very fiery, very competitive, and he likes to correct mistakes right away. So, hey, wanted to make sure, he's a guy who, the night I saw him in this video right here, he was sitting about 93, but in other times I've seen him, he's been sitting 94, 95, touching 96, and I believe he has touched 97 this year. So good enough velo. 4 pitches he lands in the strike zone. Landon Knack could be a guy that could help in a bullpen game. He could help as a 5th starter. He could help as a spot starter. And or, hey, if you wanted to match him up and say, hey, go 3, kind of like we've talked about with Gavin Stone and Andrejackson and maybe even a Michael Grove, if you went to the pen, he could be a bulk inning pen guy that gave you 3 innings whenever your pen needs a little bit of a break. So wanted to throw in Landon Knack, who had been just now recently moved up to AAA. Emmet Sheehan is one of the hottest pitchers right now in all of baseball, man. His strikeout to walk ratio, his amount of strikeouts he's racked up is just absolutely monumental. It is historic, and it's all because from that 3/4 slot, kind of like Gus Varland. Look at that, 3/4 ride and run both to the top of the zone, and he has hit as high as 99. He also matches a slider, a curveball, and a change with that great fastball. He likes to throw his changeup just kind of as a get-me-over flipper pitch in fastball-type counts just to give the hitter a different look. But make no mistake about it, that 4-seam that he hits 99 with is what he sets everything out. You saw a really good look of it there. Then he matches the slider. He tunnels the slider and the changeup off of that. Again, just like Landon Knack, he's a starter. Just like Landon Knack just got moved up to AAA. So it would be a big leap, but hey, he's one of those guys with margin for error. I think he's the type of guy you're looking for a bullpen arm as of imminently, because whenever you can hit 99 with that fastball and the perceived velocity is even higher than that, because look how far he got down the mound right there. I mean, he's releasing that at what, 55, maybe 54 feet. So the perceived velocity of that 96, 97, 98, sometimes 99 is even higher than that. So to the hitter, it looks like it's coming at more than 100 miles an hour. And because he strikes so many guys out, that gives him margin for error even at the major league level. So he can make a couple of mistakes, and as long as those mistakes don't leave the yard, kind of like we saw with Ryan Pepio, he can get himself out of jams because he can throw the ball by a hitter, and then he can also use his changeup and slider to really keep a hitter off balance. So, hey, another guy who, again, he could be a 5th starter for you, just like Landon Knack. He could be a part of a bullpen game where he could go 3-4 innings and eat up bulk innings in a bullpen game. Or you could just say, hey, here you go, Emmett. We're going to put you in the pen. We're going to give you 3 to 6 outs. Go out there and max out and take that 99 and make it 101. And maybe he might be able to hit that 0, as he likes to say, and be an effective bullpen arm for the immediate future. But like Landon Knack, his future is as a starter, but right now you're just trying to fill in needs. It's always about filling in the needs for the major league club, and I think he is a viable option, not necessarily tomorrow or anything, but as the Dodgers kind of evaluate, hey, do we have in-house what we need, or do we need to go make a trade before the trade deadline here in 5 or 6 weeks? He's one of the guys that I think will be in the equation. A couple of other guys that are in AAA that are in the bullpen are Trevor Bettencourt, who, by the way, got voted as having the best mustache in the Dodgers system, and then Keegan Curtis, but they were both just recently called up. I don't think those two would be imminent as far as the major league goes. So I covered all the guys that I thought that would be your first choices coming up to the Dodgers. So, hey, I'll leave it to you. Do you think the Dodgers have what they need in-house? Should they promote from AAA or go out and trade? Probably in the end, it's going to be a little bit of both. We know how the Dodgers like to work. And hey, I'll say it again, this front office is very good at knowing what their needs are. They're very good at doing all the research and homework. Hey, they don't lose trades very often. I think there's been a couple. The Clayton Beeter trade, I did not understand that for Joey Gallo. I said it at the time, and I think that's going to continue to prove out that the Dodgers probably lost that trade. Also, hey, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Tanner Dodson, Tanner Dodson's at AA still. Luke Rady, I saw yesterday, his OPS is over 900 for Tampa Bay, and he's hitting 365 at the major league level. So that's a trade that I'm not exactly sure the Dodgers are going to win as well. And then, of course, you have the big trade with Max Scherzer and Trey Turner, where you gave away Keibert Ruiz, Josiah Gray, and Gerardo Carrillo, and then Donovan Casey. Okay, so I still don't think the Dodgers lost that trade. They did their best to put themselves in the position to win a World Series, and they almost did it. So I don't think the Dodgers necessarily lost that trade. Plus, you had Will Smith coming up, so Keibert Ruiz was already blocked. And then in a tier below that, you had Diego Cartaya. So you have Will Smith to play catcher with Austin Barnes and he's going to be able to do that until Cartaya, Carson Taylor, Dalton Rushing, until that next wave of catchers is major league ready. So I think Keibert Ruiz was expendable from that situation. I think it was a win-win on both sides. I don't think either side in the Nats-Dodgers trade won or lost. I think it was just a good trade on both sides. The Dodgers had the best chance to win a World Series, and the Nats got a lot of good return in that trade as well. So, hey, that is my show for you today. I hope you enjoyed all the in-house options as far as the bullpen goes for the Dodgers. And I hope you also tune in tomorrow. And just one last reminder, if you'd like to help Dodgers Daily by donating, go ahead and scroll down to the description, click the link, and that'll take you right to the Dodgers Daily GoFundMe account where you can help Dodgers Daily by donating. Also, if you like this video and if you like this kind of content, interact with it. Leave a comment. I love our War Room. I love the comments we get. Best discussion of any Dodgers site out there, no doubt about it. So keep leaving those comments. Like this video, share this video, tell all your friends about this video, and make sure that you and your friends have those notifications turned on so you never miss when a video gets dropped by Dodgers Daily. As always, thanks for tuning in, and go Dodgers.